So here we are, Unit 4, Lecture 7. We're going to talk about sleep and dreams. We talked a little bit about states of consciousness with sleep and why we sleep in the last lecture. This one, we're going to specifically look at the stages of sleep. And we're going to take a look at what dreams have to do with sleep. And that sometimes we like to get into dreams because dreams are exciting and meaning and whatnot. But sometimes dream is just a dream. It's there to entertain us. It's there to, we're not processing anything. We're just working through, getting through the night. They don't all have to have a meaning. Some of them could, but they don't all have to. So that's what we're going to take a little bit of a look at here today. So let's start with your circadian rhythm. Here's where whatever is responsible for creating the human body has a bit of a sense of humor. The human body, if you took humans and you put them in a building and you had no cues for what was going on the outside, you had no sunrises, sunsets, no clocks, anything like that, what would happen to the human body is we would naturally adapt to a 25-hour day. But we live on a 24-hour planet. We've got a 25-hour body living on a 24-hour planet. How do those kind of come together? Well, the reason we have it is it gives us that extra little boost that we need. Sometimes we got to stay up a little bit late, whatever, and we get that extra little yeehaw. But in order to keep it into its daily 24-hour task, we have to keep our body in sync. We need to go to bed kind of at the same time every night. We need to wake up kind of at the same time every morning. We need to eat at the same time during the day. And this fools the 25-hour body into sticking to a 24-hour cycle where if we need to grab that extra hour to stay up a little bit later, whatever, it's fine. This is why we tend to be hungry at the same time, use the restroom at the same time. Our body gets used to it because we're fooling it into this 24-hour day. And again, humans' present sleeping patterns made a major adjustment in the last 150 years. It wasn't until the 1800s that we got artificial light for the first time. The screen exposure that we have today of this keeping you up late at night, in the last 150 years on this planet, the way we sleep is totally different. You go back hundreds, thousands of years ago, we slept like animals. We slept a lot of people in a bed together wanting to stay warm. We slept when we were tired. We woke when we needed to. We sleep in shifts, whatever. It wasn't this, everyone's working a 9-to-5 job and everybody's sleeping at night. And it wasn't that. So again, it's kind of a weird adaptation that we've made recently. And disruptions to our circadian rhythm, this is why we are so susceptible to them, can really throw off our body clock. If you go on vacation for a week and you don't have school or you don't have school for the summer, and then suddenly you're adapting back into a normal school week or whatever, that's hard for us to do. The first couple of days are easy because it's adrenaline. But after that, it's hard for us to do. When you sleep till noon on Sunday, you have trouble getting to sleep that night. Then it's going to make it more difficult to wake up on Monday, and then your body, and then you decide, well, Monday I'll just go home at 3. I'll get home at 3:30 and I'll sleep from 3:30 to 5:30, which is not a good nap because now you've slept too long and your body's gone into those cycles. Now it's going to be hard for you to get to sleep Monday night. You're going to start watching something on YouTube. You get into that little rabbit hole, whatever. It's tough to do. When you pull an all-nighter, the strongest desire to sleep is 2 a.m. to 4 p.m. A close second is 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., right? When you're getting out of school, these are sort of the times where your body's gone, that's enough. No other species has a single time when all rest happens. Again, dogs go to sleep when they're ready to sleep. A dog's sleeping right over there right now. Cats sleep when they're ready to sleep. Humans, this whole idea of we're going to be up for a certain amount of time and get in all of our calories, we're going to get in all of our sleep at a particular time. It's very, very environmental. It's not naturally what our body does. Younger people tend to be night owls, with their production increasing as the day moves forward. When you take a look at the difference between a morning lark and a night owl, you tend to be night owls because you tend to want to be up a little bit later. The average person has a mid sleep of 3 a.m. on the weekends, which means that if you get 8 hours of sleep, you fall asleep at 11 p.m. and you get up at 7 a.m., typically doing that 8 hours. Younger people tend to stay up a little bit later. And it's harder again when you got the phones. When falling asleep in front of a screen, the blue light goes through your eyelids, leads to lighter sleep. It's easier to disrupt. It's not very, very helpful. Once you get into your 20s, you transition more into an early bird with production being very efficient early and then tapering off as the day goes on. 10 to 20% of people are morning people, 10 to 20% are night owls. The rest of us sort of kind of in the middle of that. But what you'll notice is people that are morning people, they tend to peak in their efficiency from about 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. over here to 4 p.m. Middle of the afternoon, that's when they're at their peak. Yet when you've got somebody who's a night owl from 10 a.m. to 1 to 4, they're hitting about 80% of their efficiency. Then their efficiency, the night owl, really isn't happening until about 7 o'clock at night. That's when you're like, okay, peaked, ready to go. And even at 10 p.m., you're still at 95%. So then you want to just consistently do that. But again, being up at night, it's dark, you're by yourself. People who are night owls are more susceptible to depression, a lot of times due to this loneliness and everything else. So again, we got to find this fine line between being up when everybody else is up, but also at the same time adjusting to the schedules of normalcy, if you would. I got a pair of glasses there. So again, more stuff there on sleep if you want to take a look at it. Again, these things that we looked at before, people who are less likely to get enough sleep, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, 50% of teens who own smartphones are getting less sleep. And we're talking about 40, 45% of the population is getting less sleep than what is needed. And again, more likely to feel left out, as we talked about before. As you're up all night and you're looking at those things and you're looking what other people are doing, it leads to more depression. You're by yourself, you're alone, you're looking at other things. It's a tough little balancing act that you have to do. Now let's take a look at the different stages of sleep. There's 5 stages of sleep. 4 of them go under what is called non-rapid eye movement. Okay, and this is measured with electrodes. So what they do is they hook up your brain, as you see down here, and they sort of measure the how fast the neurotransmitters are happening in your brain. So every 90 to 100 minutes, every hour and a half to 2 hours, we're going through about 5 different stages of sleep. First one is non-REM stage 1. This is when you first dive into sleep. This usually happens in an unrecognized moment. This is the person who's in class and is suddenly just sort of doing that, jerks back away. You're watching a movie, sort of doing that and trying to get the energy back. You're falling asleep at that moment. You might have even been at a red light, and then suddenly you're at that red light, in traffic, and then you're just like, what? You went to sleep. You briefly went to sleep. Now again, your eyes didn't close. You weren't knocked down into deep sleep, but that was a level of resting where you slowed down your neurotransmitters. Then we get to non-REM stage 2. This lasts for about 20 minutes. This is when we have the sleep spindles, where you have less activity, more activity happening. You can still talk at this time. Your mother's like, would you go to bed? I'm just resting my eyes. Most sounds coming into you, you can pick them up, but they're nonsense. Very easy to wake a person up. This is also a good power nap time, 15 to 20 minutes, because you don't go into that deep stage of sleep. And the best time to do this is between noon and 3, because that's when you're sort of desperate for sleep to sort of re-energize your day. Then the next stage of sleep is non-REM stage 3. This is where we go from awareness to a deeper sleep. If you take a look over here, let me move this. And this is when we're awake. Notice the neurotransmitter levels very fast, very fast, very fast. And when we start to get relaxed and drowsy, start to get a little bit higher and a little bit more of a gap. Now, when we get to stage 1, much more of a gap, getting a little bit taller. So this means that our brain activity is slowing down a little bit. Then we get into stage 2 that we talked about before. And this is where you have much bigger waves and bigger gaps, little sleep spindles of, oh, I'm not sleeping. And then you sort of go back into it. Now by stage 3, we're getting these big delta waves. These delta waves are the money waves. This is what we want. And then when we get to stage 4, which is the deepest level of sleep, this is where our brain is really starting to slow down. This is where, you know, the big wide gaps here, taller waves. This is where all our brain is doing is what we need to do to be alive. You know, is the heart still beating? Fantastic. Is the blood still flowing? Fantastic. Am I still breathing? Fantastic. And this is where your body just becomes sort of dead. You know, it's hard to sort of move around. You know, there's no messages being sent to my body to move that much. I'm in non-REM stage 4. This is the money sleep. When you get a lot of non-REM stage 4, time goes by faster because your brain is going so slow. So since my brain is acting so slow, time seems to go faster because I'm not processing as much of it at this time. Now, then we get to stage 5. Stage 5 is REM sleep. This is rapid eye movement. It's called REM sleep because our eyes move around. They're closed, but our eyes move around because we're dreaming. And if you take a look here, look at this stage 5 REM sleep. Look at how active my brain is. And notice it's very close to being awake. Here's awake. Here's REM sleep. Because when we're dreaming, which only lasts for about 10, 15 minutes at a time, when we're dreaming, our brain is very, very active. Because think of everything we have to do when we're dreaming. You know, you got to come up with scenery. You got to come up with a plot. You got to come up with dialogue. You got to come up with costumes. You got to come up with all this stuff. It's exhausting. We don't want to dream all the time. Dreams only last for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. And then our body can sort of feel physiological arousal of, you know, if I'm being chased by a lion, my heart will beat faster and I'll start to sweat and do all these other things. Now my pons will stop messages from going to my body and making me run, but I can still have the physiological reactions to things that are happening while I sleep. And then we go from the REM back to the stage 3, 4, and to the REM. Then as we get sleep longer and longer and longer, maybe the REM sort of continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, again, this REM sleep that we're going through, this rapid eye movement, the more often we go through the stages, the longer REM sleep lasts. Now, a lot of people will go, but I don't dream, or I didn't have a dream last night. You only remember a dream if you're woken up during that dream. People who are woken up in stage 3, stage 4, which is harder to wake people up. That's when you're like, wake up, wake up, wake up. That's harder to do because the waves are much bigger. It's easy to wake somebody up when they're dreaming because the brain's already active. But what happens sometimes is when we're startled by it, when we wake up during a dream, it's hard to move our body because our pons has frozen our body to do any sort of physical reaction. That's where that sleep paralysis idea comes from. 80% of people who claim not to dream can recall them when awoken during REM sleep. What happens with most people who claim not to dream, they just never wake up during their dreams. If I had 3 or 4 dreams during the night, and I woke up during the 4th dream, I'm not going to remember the 1st, the 2nd, and 3rd because I never woke up. I never processed those dreams. We can still hear while we're asleep. This is why when you fall asleep and the television is on, that sometimes characters from that show or whatever can get into your dream. This is the reason why an alarm clock works. This is why when people are having conversations, suddenly conversations going on around you can sort of creep into your dream. As we get older, our levels of REM actually decreases, as does our overall need for sleep as well. So when we take a look at these stages, here's awake. Now let me sort of go back here again. This is awake, very active. And then as I get into deeper sleep, notice the waves are getting a bit wider and wider and wider. So I'm in stage 4 here. Now, as we go into REM sleep, notice that REM sleep is very, very active. Go back down to 2, 3, 4, then go back up here into REM sleep, which gets a little bit longer, very active, just like being awake. And then we get back down to 2, 3, 4, slowing down the waves. And then we're back up into REM sleep. And notice that each stage of REM gets a little bit longer and a little bit longer and a little bit longer as we sort of cycle through these until we come back and we become awake. So again, the longer we sleep, the more REM that happens. But most dreams only last about 10 to 15 minutes because if we dreamt all night, again, we'd be exhausted. All right. This is also why when you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh my Lord, I feel like I just went to sleep 5 minutes ago. That means you got a lot of stage 4 sleep. And that, again, you don't remember dreaming. It doesn't seem, but you're very well rested when it feels like you just went to sleep, but you woke up and you're actually, that's good sleep. A REM rebound is following extended amounts of sleep deprivation that sometimes will go right into REM sleep. Spend greater percentage of time into REM sleep, which means you're not getting as much stage 4, which is bad for you. This is why when people are like, oh, I'll just stay up a lot and I'll catch up on my sleep this weekend. When you catch up on your sleep, you're usually catching up with bad sleep. It's like, not eating. I'll catch up on eating this weekend and you eat a bunch of junk food. It's bad sleep that you're getting. So you want to watch out for that REM rebound. Now, a bunch of stuff there on dreams. Now, why do we dream? Why do we dream? So when we get into REM and we dream, why do we do it? Well, there's a lot of reasons we do it. One reason we do it is we're filing away memories. We're going through things that are happening in our day-to-day life, and we're deciding, okay, this is important, this is not important. And sometimes things I need to reflect on, things I need to work through more, I'm going to start to dream about so I can process that. A 1998 study actually showed that higher achieving students slept on average 25 minutes longer than their peers who were lower achieving. So again, when you sleep, it allows you to process things. So again, this is why an all-nighter doesn't work. You've never given your brain a chance to process what you've learned. Much of what we experience during the day is not consciously processed. Remember, only very few things are consciously processed. Most things are processed subconsciously. My dog barking, so my wife is home. We also dream to develop and preserve neural pathways. This provides stimulation to the brain, keep the neural pathways going, reinforcing pathways, reinforcing long-term memories, reinforcing how we do these particular things. Sometimes we do it to make sense of neural static. As the brain is still active while we sleep, our dreams are going to allow us to make sense of all this crap that was going on during the day. The limbic system, hypothalamus, the amygdala, they tend to be more active while the frontal lobe is turned off. While we're dreaming, our frontal lobe is turned off, which is why we're allowed to do a lot of these activities. We're allowed to have a lot of these fantasies. We're allowed to commit these crimes or whatever, because our frontal lobe is turned off and we can get deep, 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 deep down into that subconsciousness. Dreams have access to our unconscious that our conscious mind is oblivious to. A lot of things that we've been repressing. This is a great time to spend with yourself, to go through particular things, to reflect on cognitive development, which is why if you can do a lucid dream, and a lucid dream is dreaming and you know that you're dreaming. And this sometimes gives you a chance to process things that are going on into your life. If I'm having a lucid dream and I want a coconut cream pie, boom, there's a coconut cream pie. It's right there. But at the same time, if I'm doing a lucid dream and I want to talk to my friend from the 5th grade, they show up and it allows me to process that stuff. My mother passed away, 10, 11 years ago. She shows up in my dreams. There's some stuff I got to process there. It's a great opportunity for us to do that. Sometimes we dream to satisfy our wishes. Freud argued that dreams were an outlet for unacceptable feelings, but it's not just unacceptable. It's sometimes also acceptable things we want to work out as well. There's a couple of different types of dreams. One is what's called manifest. The other is called latent content. A manifest content is a storyline that you can remember the next day. It has an obvious meaning. These are big dreams. I had a dream of asking a girl out on a date, whatever. Well, I'm having that dream because I want to ask this person out. It's obvious. Latent content is unconscious drives and wishes. They tend to have underlying meanings. There tends to be a lot of symbolism in these dreams. A lot of times you need other people to interpret these dreams because when you're awake, your ego wants to do a lot of protecting of you and whatnot. A lot of archetypes of the true characters, you're in a car going down a road in a stormy night and you can't see where you're going. Well, the car can represent your journey through life. Somebody else is driving. I don't have enough control in my life. There's a storm. I'm not sure where I'm going. There's all these different sort of things that can seep into what dreams mean. Sometimes we dream to process things. We want changes in our lives. I'm going to have a new relationship, a new job, a new whatever. I want to try this stuff out in my dream. Dealing with emotions, things that are denied or repressed that we're not willing to deal with. We can deal with these in our dreams, things we may be ashamed of. We don't want to consciously admit. We don't want to talk to someone about it. We can work this out in our dreams. Illumination, connecting with the super unconscious, coming up with inventions, coming up with songs, coming up with movies. where there's no rules in your dream. So you can pretty much do whatever you want. Sometimes we want to think about what we want to do in the future. You're young. What's going to be my next job? I want to be an electrical engineer, have a job of, or I'm sorry, have a dream of this new job of being an electrical engineer and seeing if this is something you really, truly want to do. A lot of times there's themes of dreams. Much of the latent content within dreams appears in symbolism. Usually takes someone else to interpret it. But a lot of times we'll have dreams of falling. A lot of times when we're falling in a dream, it means I'm falling short of something. Maybe in my professional life, whatever. It's falling short in relationships, and it's basically saying it's okay to fail. And here we are failing in our dreams and noticing that we wake up and it doesn't kill us. Flying. A lot of times when we're flying in our dream, this means that we have a new power. I've got a new job. Okay. So in my dream, I'm suddenly flying because I don't have the power of flying normally. So normally ever. So in my dream, when I'm flying, I see the world from a different perspective. This job is going to allow me to see the world from a different perspective. When I'm flying, suddenly power lines get in my way. I've never had to worry about power lines before. So this new job, what are the new things that I'm going to have to worry about and whatnot can show up on the dreams. Cheating on your boyfriend or girlfriend. This could represent our own desire to be unfaithful, but at the same time, it could also represent an insecurity that maybe they're going to be cheating on us. And at the same time, sometimes when our boyfriend or girlfriend is cheating on us in our dream, this is to kind of punish us for having that temptation to maybe want to do it to them. The death of someone close to you. This doesn't mean that someone close to you is going to die, but it does mean in this particular dream, possibly that you're ready to move on from that relationship. A lot of you guys as juniors and seniors in high school will have dreams of your parents dying, which doesn't mean your parents are dying. It just means your relationship with them is changing. It's no longer going to be as submissive and whatnot. And are you ready for that particular change? The death of an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. It means you're ready to move on from that relationship. You don't have any clothes on in your dream. That's a very, very popular one. And there's nothing really sexual about it. It's just the fact that our clothes allows us to sort of hide insecurities about ourselves. So if I'm walking around without any clothes on and I'm like covering up, and that means there's something about me I'm trying to hide. I didn't complete that biology project. So I show up to school with no clothes on. And everybody's going to notice. I can't hide that I didn't do the biology project. Sometimes we walk around without any clothes on and nobody notices we don't have any clothes on, which means that whatever I'm paranoid about, I don't need to be paranoid about. Then sometimes we walk around school without any clothes on and we're very happy we don't have any clothes on. And that really kind of means that we're in a real good place of self-confidence. Sometimes we'll steal in our dreams, which means that I don't feel like what I'm doing is going to allow me to get to the goals that I need to. Maybe I need to make changes in my life. Drowning in our dreams, which is a lot of times dealing with emotions. Whenever you see water in your dreams, it could be dealing with emotions. Driving, the journey of life. Again, as we talked about before, I'm in a car going down a road. Well, are you the one driving? Is somebody else driving? That's sort of what's in control of your life. I'm being chased in my dreams. A lot of times there's a lie that you told and you're afraid of somebody finding out, and that lie is getting closer and closer and closer to you. Sometimes you're chasing the younger you. You're afraid of losing your childhood or whatever. That could be a theme of our dream. The teeth falling out tends to be a really big one. And this is where we're afraid of not being able to hide what we want to hide, not being able to defend ourselves, things like that. The anima versus the animus. A lot of times guys will have a dream of a faceless girl in their dream. And a lot of times that faceless girl represents our own feminine characteristics that maybe we're afraid to be too caring, to be more emotional. And sometimes women will have the anima in their dream, which is to be more masculine, your masculine characteristics that you want to kind of get in touch with. And again, archetypes, a lot of these characters that show up in our dreams, or we go into these archetypes that aren't normally us. I'm a doctor in my dream. I'm an entertainer in my dream. I'm the authority figure in my dream. I'm in love in my dream, whatever. It gives us a chance to process this. So again, a bunch of other themes. You read tons on dreams. There's tons of videos online about dreams and what they could mean. But again, sometimes a dream is just a dream, and it's there to simply entertain us until we wake up and we get into life. All right. So that wraps up dreams. We will get into the next lecture next time. Let me see if I can get up here and stop this.